This is John Colo with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. In this episode, I'm going to do a juice off with the all-new Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer. Boy, that was a mouthful. We're going to compare that against my favorite juicer, the Hurom H70, which is actually not a mouthful. You know, here's the thing, guys. I went to school for business management marketing, actually, and I will say that the Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer here has probably one of the best names, because when you read the name of the juicer, you think, whoa, this is ultimate, so it must be the best in its performance, so it must be really good. So that's what we're going to find out in this episode, if it's really the ultimate juicer, and I'm going to throw away my Hurom H70 and start using the Omega. Alright, so for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is John Cole, and I started my company DiscountJuicers.com back in 1998 to get people the lowest price on juicers, but more importantly, educate people about the different styles and types of juicers. Back then I did it through HTML tables and comparison charts. Nowadays I'm glad for YouTube, where I can demonstrate the machines and explain more about them and share with you guys all my knowledge about juicers in this episode. I started juicing myself in 1995, so this is like literally my 30th year juicing and eating fruit and vegetables and other high nutrient foods. And I will tell you guys straight up, it does make a difference. And I believe juicing, especially the vegetables, is a part of a healthy, balanced diet. On the most part, I don't recommend juicing fruits. I think fruit juice is overconsumed, and the published studies say that if you want to drink fruit juice, that's great. Don't drink any more than 250 milliliters of juice, which is like 8 ounces, but I see people blasting like 32 ounces or quarts or even liters of fruit juice at a time. You know, my opinion is that you should eat your fruits whole, or just even vacuum blend them if you want a juice-like consistency. That being said, my relationship with Hurom and Omega go back a very long time. Many years ago, I even visited the Hurom factory in South Korea to see how the juicers are made. And to be honest with you guys, the first Omega vertical juicers were made by Hurom with the Omega label on it. Hurom really didn't have a strong presence here in the United States, and back in the day, Omega was the #1 leading juicer company here, so it was only right that they partnered together so that Omega could sell Hurom juicers under the Omega brand name with its already established brand. You know, since that time, I will say, in my opinion, you know, Omega had different ideas, and instead of now using Hurom as its manufacturing partner in South Korea, and in my opinion, Hurom makes the best juicers in the entire world, Omega wanted to cut costs, and then they went off to China to get their machines made with different manufacturing partners. So what I will say is that the Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer is the most expensive Chinese-made Omega juicer that they are selling. And in my experience, some of the other models that are made in China for Omega, sold under the Omega brand, have not performed as well as the South Korean versions that are made by Hurom. That's just my personal 2 cents, so I really want to see how this one's going to perform, especially because Omega had about maybe 2 or 3 years easily to get it right. I started seeing this, especially a mock-up, at the trade show that I'd go to every year for about 2-3 years ago now, and then finally they just released it on the market. And to give you guys full disclosure, I was given the Hurom H70 to do a review and do testing of and share with you guys. And then on the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer, I used my hard-earned money to buy this juicer. Unfortunately, my relationship with Omega has kind of gone down over the years, for whatever reason, due to different people in charge or whatever. I'm not really sure, but you would think they'd want to work with the #1 juicer influencer in the entire world. But I had to go out and buy this machine so I could test it for you guys, because maybe, as a lot of the reviews online show, this machine is potentially a lemon. There's a lot of reviews that give it 1 star, which is quite amazing to me, that a company such as Omega, with their brand and caliper, would release a machine that got, on some websites at present time, 30% 1-star reviews. On another website, it's literally 50% of the reviews are 1-star reviews. And I'm actually going to cover the reason for a lot of those 1-star reviews in this episode, because evidently Omega customer service couldn't figure this out, but I figured it out just a little bit earlier. So be sure to stay tuned for that. So yeah, I mean, that's the story of these two machines. I will also say that both these machines have a full 15-year warranty on the motor and the parts. So that is your assurance that you will get a machine that will hopefully be operating for the next 15 years, provided the companies can provide the customer service and take care of you. And that's very important when you guys are buying a juicer. I want you guys to buy a juicer with a long warranty, not just a short warranty, because that really will tell you guys the machine is not a disposable machine. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and dive deep and compare these two machines and their build quality and how they juice head to head. So as you guys can see, both these machines are hopper style juicers. They also are both slow juicers. The Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer runs at 51 RPM, which is impressive because that's probably one of the lowest RPM juicers on the market. That's a vertical, so I really like that a lot. Meanwhile, the Hurom H70 runs at a little bit faster clip at 60 revolutions per minute. That 9 RPM difference, in my opinion, is not going to make a significant difference, but what will make a significant difference is the design of the machines. The Omega is more of a traditional design. It has a juicing screen and the auger that rotates around it. Omega has deleted the wiping blade that can help keep the produce clean in the screen and also get the juice to flow out more effectively, which is quite interesting. But on the flip side, that also makes cleaning a tad bit easier. I really love batch juicers and believe if you guys want to buy a vertical juicer such as these, you should only consider a batch juicer in 2025. And the reason is because the biggest problem with vertical juicers is that you would have to pre-cut and then drop in the produce into the juicer, or worse, even push it in, which some people would do. Many people would cut things too long, they would put things in too fast and then shove things in and cram things in too fast, right? The hopper, if properly designed, will properly pre-cut the produce to some extent and more importantly, feed it in at the right rate so that the juicer does not clog or jam and give you headaches. Another amazing benefit of the vertical hopper juicer is that you can like literally load up the hopper, shut the lid, and walk away. If the machine is properly designed, it'll just run straight through, processing all your produce, and you come back to a glass of juice and the pulp. And then you just need to simply clean the machine. And that's honestly why I love the H70. Not only does it automatically juice for you, but then when you're done, you have a 1-minute cleaning. I estimate the cleaning on the Omega Performance Ultimate Batch Juicer to be maybe 3 to 4 minutes because I will have to scrub the holes in the juicing screen to get it clean. That is the most difficult part to clean on any vertical juicer or even other juicer for that matter. So with that, let's go ahead and take these apart and check out all the juicing parts. I will tell you guys that actually this part is actually quite heavy. So if you're an elderly person and can't lift as heavy items, then the Hurom might be a bit better. But if you want something more heavy duty, this may be it. So as you guys can see, the Omega is definitely taller than the Hurom. Also, if you just flip this over to the front view, you could see the diameter of the hopper is larger on the Omega as well. So to unlatch these, you're just going to basically turn this, and there's a lock and unlock, and we're going to be able to take off the hopper. And same thing on the Hurom, there's a lock and unlock, so we'll just take this off so you guys can see here are the both hopper comparisons. So the hopper on the Hurom is about 20% smaller than the hopper on the Omega, so that means you will need to fill it more often. That being said, I haven't tested the hopper on the Omega yet, but I have tested all the other major brand hopper juices on the market, and I can confidently tell you guys that the hopper on the H70 is the best designed hopper that actually feeds things in the most efficiently without leaving a lot of residue on the sides. And even over and beyond that, you could actually rejuice pulp the most effective way with the Hurom H70 as well, because you could literally put pulp in there, it'll feed it back in without clogging, without getting stuck in many cases, although I do recommend putting cubed Hickam in there. Links down below to my video on juicing celery and or cucumbers, so you can see my rejuicing technique to get the maximum extraction out of your juices using the Hurom H70. Meanwhile, I haven't tested the Omega. This is the first time I'm using it. I don't even know how well the hopper is going to look or work. I mean, the thing is this. I mean, there's main things about the hopper. Number one, actually, I will say I do like the latch on this, actually. The latch is you basically push this little button here, and it pops up. So I do like that. On the Hurom, you basically got a trigger latch, which you gotta click, you know, which is good also. I do like that the lid on the Hurom opens up to a wider angle, whereas this kind of, you know, just goes up straight, and then if you knock it a little bit, it could have the propensity to like fall down on you. So that's not the best. In addition, all the major brand hoppers by, you know, Korean companies basically have some kind of like texture on the inside. You know, I'm told that that may reduce the sound, and also more importantly help feed in the produce in the machine so it actually doesn't stick to the sides, because there's less surface area because of all these lines going down. On the flip side, that also, you know, if there's a lot of pulp and stuff in here, that may get cruded up inside there. That being said, I've never brushed down the Hurom, and I've always sprayed it down, and as you guys can see, this part is quite clean. The other thing I want to share with you guys is the auger here, or the processing blade inside. This is a very special processing blade, guys. It has a very special rake to it. It looks, you know, kind of quite aggressive. Maybe like, to me, reminds me of like devil's horns or a caltrop fruit, if you guys know what that is. But, you know, they went through a lot of revisions to get this design exactly right so that it actually will cut up to some extent and then load in the produce. In addition, you guys can see there's a hole on the bottom of once the produce is chopped up, and then it drops in this specially designed hole, which is not just an opening, guys. It has some weird shapes to it. I found that, you know, because of the shape, that's what really allows this machine to work so much better and perform better than other machines on the market that I've tested, okay? And then, of course, you have a handle here, which is like a thin line handle. So I'll definitely say this part is a bit lighter, definitely because the handle is thinner, and yeah, it's smaller. So this part is a little more stout and heavy. Once again, both these have a hole in the top, and both these actually have a funnel. The funnel on the Omega is actually more raked, so I do like that a bit better than the funnel on the Hurom that is less raked. That being said, inside this, it doesn't look like the engineers at Omega or at the factory in China where this is made and produced did a lot of work, right? This basically just looks like a cylinder, and they got a few lines on here. I do like actually that you could kind of see through it, but because of the design, it may leave things more stuck inside the hopper. In addition, you guys could see this processing blade. I mean, it is stainless steel, which is really nice. Is it going to perform better than a plastic one? Well, you know, I found that between stainless steel or plastic on this processing blade doesn't make a big difference. The plastic Ultim works great and has enough power to basically slice through and chop up all the vegetables. Stainless steel in this, yes, definitely does look impressive. But then also, too, on the stainless steel ones, you know, you may not be able to get the right design. So this looks like a very basic design with just a lower blade, and then it kind of curves upward, whereas you guys could see this has a definite unique rake to it. In addition, you guys can see on the Omega, you know, I don't think they put a lot of thought into this. You know, it wasn't like optimized. I mean, Hurom's gone through, let's see, like at least 6 different designs or 6 different models of their hopper juicer, and this is their latest one. On hopper juicers, I believe this is about Omega's 3rd or 4th design. But you guys can see this is basically just a large opening. So the larger opening may feed things in more quickly, but then it may potentially reduce the yield and or overload the machine so that it clogs or jams. I don't really know. We're going to test it a little bit later. I do like the fact that it's stainless steel. And also, you know, the other thing I do like about this is that this is basically like a one piece. So this whole bottom piece is one piece, and then you have a top lid, which is one piece. Whereas on the Hurom, you have the one piece here, and then you have basically a glued piece on the bottom. You know, there's pros and cons to each method. The bottom is a lot more thick and stout. Also on the bottom of the Hurom, you know, this is not just flat on the bottom, guys. There's like some special, like I would say, steps or ways like it kind of funnels in. This is something other hopper juicers don't have that I really haven't mentioned before, but this is mostly flat on the bottom. So yeah, that's the differences between both these lids. Next up, let's take a look at the different juicing parts in the bowl. So over on the Omega side, we have a traditional juicing screen, which I will say I am impressed with, mainly because of all the screen area. Now, in my opinion, the screen area is impressive because there's a lot, but it also, in my opinion, you know, I've noticed when juicing in vertical juicers, a lot of the top holes on the top screens, unless you're juicing something like, you know, watery like oranges, right, really don't end up getting used. It's the bottom holes that end up doing all the work. So if I was Omega engineers, I would have put like the wider screen on the bottom and then the more narrow screen up top. But yeah, that's just me. Nonetheless, this looks like just a basic screen with nice small holes in there. So that will generally mean there's going to be less pulp in your juice. But consequently, that also means there's a lot more holes to get basically ground in produce that you will need to scrub out with a brush when you're done. So, and then on the bottom of the auger, it has actually quite a large opening for the pulp to eject out through the juicing bowl. And the other way that the juicing screen works is that there is an auger that goes in the juicing screen, so the produce drops in here and then is crushed up by the auger. Now, the interesting thing about this auger is that it also has a stainless steel kind of like metal piece on the top, which is screwed in. You know, on one level, this is kind of cool because that actually will help cut up the produce before it goes in. You know, if they had a proper design auger and proper design processing blade, I believe they would not need this additional part. That challenge I have with this additional part is that, like, you know, there's a gap between the steel and the auger, which things can get stuck in. So it's basically a harborage point. So this would never pass any kind of NSF approval process for commercial use. And so I'm not the biggest fan of this. This may have, I mean, I'm not sure, but it may have been an afterthought because like the juicer wasn't performing well. And like, how could we get the juicer to perform well? Well, we could redesign the processing blade maybe to cut a bit better, or we could kind of add this on to cut things up smaller because the auger just can't hack it on its own. I'm not really sure. But I mean, this looks like a standard auger. I do like underneath the auger, there's a nice wide area so you guys can clean it out really easily. So yeah, so actually this is fairly easy to clean. You got, you know, 2 pieces plus your juicing bowl right here. Juicing bowl is definitely made out of thicker plastic than on the Hurom for sure. And then this is just a more of a traditional juicing bowl, right? This, on newer juicing bowls, they have a clip so you could actually open it up. This juicing bowl does not have it, so this is like a 20-year-old design, literally. To kind of get in there, although this passageway is large to clean out when you're done. And you like the spout. Another thing I like about this actually is if you look at it, but we have it flat, they actually have it raked. This is something every other juicer should do. Instead of the bowl being flat on the bottom, as the juice comes out, it's angled down so that the juice comes out. So this is very smart because that's why on most juicers I actually have to pick it up to lift it up to get the juice out. On this, it looks like it has a nice efficient angle. It's a bit higher on this end, lower on this end where the juice comes out. So that is definitely intelligent. And then of course they have a gasket on here so you can do mixing in the bowl. If you prefer, I never necessarily recommend that. So yeah, I mean, this looks like a basic juicer you would make. Nothing special there. They did delete, of course, the automatic wiping blade that does appear on other high-end juicers. All right, next up we have the Hurom H70. This works in a completely different way. While you do have 3 parts to clean here, you also have 3 parts to clean on the Hurom. You guys can see, John, you only got 2 parts. You got the juicing bowl and you got the auger. Well, this is a 2-piece auger, guys. It comes apart like that, so you really have 3 parts to clean here, 3 parts to clean here. That being said, this part is going to be a bear to clean because you're going to have to sit there and brush it out outside and inside. Whereas on the Hurom H70, you basically could just spray down these 2 parts, and that's how I've cleaned this machine every single time for over a year now. If you want to see how this machine has performed for me over a year in my review, link down below to that. Nonetheless, how this machine works is as the produce gets dropped in the machine, it is ground up between the wall of the bowl and the auger. As it's drowning up, it works its way down the auger, and then as the juice is released, it basically falls in between these cracks here and comes out the bottom, right? The pulp comes out between the wall and the end, and then comes out, and then the juice comes out the middle and falls out into your cup. So you guys can see the augers pretty much have a very similar kind of run. In run, I mean length. If we like line these up right here, so that's good. That means it's going to process and potentially grind up, depending on the tolerances, about the same amount of time. Actually, the Omega, because it runs at 9 RPM slower, maybe have a little more contact time to grind up things finer if it has a good design. What really affects the grinding is basically the markings inside the juicing bowl on the Hurom and or the markings, the ridges inside the Omega. We'll say that actually both these machines have the same amount of grinding points, which is basically 24 little ridges that things will get grind up on. That being said, there's some additional grinding points on the auger, and the Hurom actually has a lot more going vertically down than the Omega. So you may get a better grind on the Hurom. Now this is the Hurom bowl, and as I said, the juice falls down the middle, and the pulp goes out the side. So this is where the pulp comes out, and unlike the Omega that has fixed, you can't remove the little silicone flap, and you just gotta clean in both directions. This you unlatch. This is the more modern way to do it on modern juicers. So you guys could clearly get in there. There's also this flap you could kind of take out and wash underneath it should you need. So this makes it incredibly much more easy to clean. And then where the juice comes out, you know, I do like how it comes out on the Omega a little bit more than on the Hurom. The Hurom has this contraption here that you gotta pull off, and then you gotta lift up. This is basically known as a juice gauge, or I would call it a gas gauge. You can keep the spout cap closed, and then juice will fill up in there, mix in the bowl, which will result in a little bit less yield, but also a little bit less dissolved oxygen in your juice. And then you can open it up to let it all spill out. The classic shot everybody likes to show on YouTube. However, I like to leave my spout cap always open when juicing for the most part, all right? So yeah, those are the juicing parts. I guess next up we want to talk about the motor real quick here, because that's also another major point. I will say that the Omega is more fancy, right? It has built-in lighting, kind of like a Cadillac Esplanade. You could actually change the lighting. I don't know how to do that because this is all super high technical and all this stuff. This is also the IntelliDial, so it has actually 30 built-in recipes that you could actually read on the dial. To me, this just gets super fancy. I just need a juicer to juice. I don't need built-in recipes. There's plenty of recipes you can find online. Maybe if this came out in the 80s before we had the internet, it might be kind of cool, but you know, now we have the internet with all kinds of recipes you guys can easily find. This is also rated at 180 watts, and I will say that this is a heavy motor base. I'm really impressed. This is probably one of the heaviest juicer motor bases you can buy out there in a vertical juicer. So if you're really looking for something heavy and stout, this is it. Also, of course, if you're older, it might be more difficult to pick up because it is quite heavy. It's one of the heaviest juicers I've ever lifted up myself in a vertical. The other thing I want to mention is that this has an attached cord. The whole industry is pretty much going to detachable cords. This has an attached cord that, in my opinion, is a little bit too short. Next up, we have the Hurom H70. This is also quite heavy as well, maybe a little bit less weight than the Omega. I will say that this actually has just a simple three-way switch. On, off is in the middle, and hold it down, temporary reverse. It's actually extremely rare. I can't even remember when I've used the reverse button because it just powers through everything without a problem. This also is energy saving at 150 watts, but don't let the wattage fool you just because it's less wattage thinking, oh, this is 180 watts, it's a better machine because it's 30 more watts powerful. Well, wattage shows how much, you know, power that the machine can consume. Doesn't talk about the efficiency, doesn't talk about the torque. So what I'm really interested in is not even the horsepower, because we're not pulling carriages in the 1800s. We need the torque to basically snap through hard carrots and other produce and basically get the produce run through. So I mean, I could confidently say after using the Hurom H70 for a year, I don't think it's ever stopped on me. It's like it always powers through everything without a problem. So, you know, despite being lower wattage, it's going to save you guys more money when using it. And actually, if you're on solar power, having lesser wattage is a benefit because you'll be able to use more of your appliances on your batteries, all right? And of course, on the Hurom, we have a detachable cord, the standard IEC plug that I love so much. And of course, the Hurom is made in South Korea, and the Omega is made in China. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and assemble. We'll assemble the Hurom H70 first because it's a lot easier. So basically, you're going to take the two-part auger, shove them together. There's no lines or dots or anything to line up. Just drop this in. Then you're going to go ahead and take the hopper, and then now there's a line here for lock and unlock. So you're going to line up the line with unlock with the line on top of the spout cap. And then you're going to basically move it over to the lock position, so that both these arrows are lined up, right? Then you can drop this in the machine, then you can turn it on and it will start up. Meanwhile, over on the Omega, we're gonna go ahead and we need to basically look at this little for a red dot here, and we're gonna line it up with the tiny little red dot here on the back, So that gets lined up there. If you don't line it up, it's not going to drop in properly. Next up, we're going to go ahead and take our auger and drop that in. Next up, most important part, you need to take the hopper. And on the hopper, there is basically a white mark here that may wear off over time, whereas on the Hurom, it's basically like, it's plastic, so and it's like raised up. It's like embossed. And so what you need to do is you need to line up this line with the unlock over here. It'll go in, and then you kind of got to turn it over to the lock position. Now the issue I found is if you just turn it to lock position, you think, oh, I'm locked, because if you guys look at that, you guys think it's good. You put it on the top of the machine because you think you're locked in there. And then it says on here, it says check assembly. But like I had it locked on there, right? It looks like it's locked, but the thing is it like moves off easily. Like, right? So it's not really locked even though it's almost lined up. So I want to show you guys that again. See how that looks? It's almost locked. But if we look to the back, and this is what Omega customer service has not been telling people because people say it's locked, and then Omega customer service is potentially reading off their screens. They haven't dealt with juicers for the last 30 years like I have, because off camera I had this issue. I'm like, wait, my unit is giving the same message that basically a lot of the people that had problems with the Omega Ultimate Performance batch juicer had. It said check assembly. And what happens is, if you just turn this, and even with all your might you try to turn it, it doesn't click in. You know, there's a defect in one of these parts that doesn't allow this to click in properly, so that you can never assemble it properly so it'll actually turn on unless you kind of bang it in there. See how I bang that in there? If I just turn it, it doesn't go, but if I bang it in there, it will. So let me show you guys that on top, what it looks like. So we have it in there, we think we have it locked, and it says check assembly. Then we just basically gotta like slam this over. It still says check assembly. So let's put it back on. Wow, it still says check assembly. Wow, that's really whack. All right, so when that happens, let's go ahead and unplug and plug the juicer back in and get it reset. This is why I don't like smart appliances, guys, because like, you know, is a problem in the motor base with the check assembly and some of the different, you know, switches, or is it actually in the parts itself? So anyways, once again, we're just going to put this a little bit ajar, and it's going to say, when we start it, it's going to say check assembly. Now we're just going to go ahead and lock it all the way in, and it still says check assembly. All right, so this is not good. All right, so I was able to get the Omega assembled, and we could get it started. And as you guys can see, it's actually a very quiet juicer. So actually, next up, let's go ahead and do some sound testing with the decibel meter. So we're peaking out at about 64 decibels on the Omega, 63, 64. Next up, let's test the Hurom H70. I think it's like between 64 and 65. So both these machines are some of the quietest juicers on the market. I think next up, let's go ahead and see how these juicers perform when juicing the same amount of carrots. So first up, let's go ahead and do a weigh-in. All right, guys, so we're all set up and ready to juice. And as you guys can see, we got 1136.4, 11364 on both scales. So let's get juicing. All right, so today what I'll be doing is dropping all the carrots into both of the juicers, and then we're going to start the stopwatch and then see how long each one takes to juice. We're then going to go ahead and measure how much pulp was put into the juice, as well as how much juice was made. So actually, let's go ahead and load up the machines. First up, we're going to start with the Omega. As you guys can see, all these carrots easily fit in to the oversized Omega hopper. All right, got those to fit in, maybe like two didn't fit. I don't like the design on the hopper lid because it kind of seems to cut off some. This may be done on purpose, so that it prevents you from filling past the max mark, which I'll tell you guys I often do, although it is not recommended from the manufacturer. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and load up the Hurom. Also has a max fill line. And then there are some, you know, lines in this, but it doesn't quite to prevent you from filling it because it actually is closer to the sidewall, whereas this is actually spaced inward. So let's go ahead and dump in some of these carrots into the Hurom H70. And as you guys can see, we're filling them pretty good, but once again, we got some larger diameter carrots here that we will not be able to fit into the Hurom H70 either. Once again, this hopper is about 20% smaller. All right, so we got this pretty much shut, and let's see if we could lock this one in place. So this one locked in place, no problem, as did the Omega. So next up, so we got them both locked and loaded. Next up, let's go ahead and get juicing. So first, we gotta go ahead and hit the start button, and we're gonna start both machines up. All right, as you guys can see, both juices are off. The pulp is starting to flow out of the Hurom H70. Look at this. The Omega stopped, even with its it stopped and it reversed because the torque load was too much. Meanwhile, the Hurom H70 is just powering through everything. And we didn't even get to some of the, oh wow, guys, this is insanity. Like the Omega, the top is like popping off because I jimmy rigged it and like the torque is just too much. Wow, this is insane, guys. All right, so I'm gonna have to stop this because this is not gonna be a fair test because like the torque would have normally basically untwisted the top and then stopped it because we got too wide a diameter carrots in the case. I basically defeated the switch to be able to make it to juice. Let's see if I can even just get it together so I can juice properly in it. Alright guys, so I kind of got this apart and I found out that there's like pulp underneath the auger jacking it up, which then likely caused some of the issues on the top. So I really just want to be able to juice in this, so I'm probably going to hold it together so it won't like unlatch due to all the torque and all the crazy stuff. As you guys can see, the Hurom H70 dependably finished juicing at about 5 minutes, the amount of carrots we had. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off, stop it, reset it. And this is the pulp that came out of the Omega, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in because it didn't get fully ejected. Because I want to still, you know, try to have as much of a fair comparison as possible in terms of juice yield. Although, you know, to me, this is like the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicers, the juicer that has failed the most in any juice off comparison test I've ever aired on YouTube, which makes me really sad because Omega was one of the companies that I considered the best out there. So now we're going to go ahead and hit the start watch here. And we're going to get this going again. I'm going to just hold this in place so that it doesn't mess up. And we can hopefully complete the juicing process here. I think what happened on this is that the torque load was too much and then it tried to like, it stopped it, which the Hurom didn't stop. It automatically sensed the torque load was too much because despite having a 180 watt motor, didn't have the torque, and then it basically stopped. Oh, and then it stopped again, and then it reverses and to unjam it, and then it goes forward again. Like, to me, that's not the proper way to do things. The proper way is to have a properly designed motor that won't get stuck due to torque load. All right, stopped again during torque load, and this is the point where, you know, I think that the hopper would basically potentially, you know, unassemble itself, right? That's why I'm holding it here. This is a very extreme case that I would ever do this, but I really just want to see if this machine was working, how much yield it would get. That being said, I mean, I could already tell you guys right now that I bought this machine brand new off a, you know, website, and I'll be returning it to the same very website, you know, that has a lifetime guarantee on it, because I wanted to test it out, right? But to me, this is like an ultimate failure in my opinion. Like, it's really sad to me that this is happening, but as you guys know on my channel, I share it to you guys like it is, right? This machine, like, save your money. Like, I mean, people online have reviewed it, 30% on one website, 50% on another, rated it a 1 out of 5. And I personally, after my experience as the #1 world juicer expert, would rate it a 0. I mean, it is juicing finally, but I mean, it's making a weird squeaking sound. Like, I don't know, man. This is, and oh, you wait till you guys see the amount of pulp I put in here and how much problem you're gonna have with juicing, with cleaning the screen. It's mean to say. Now, I do want to say, because I know Omega's probably watching this, you know, I get that sometimes there are defective machines, and I will respect that this could be just a defective machine out of the box. That being said, I have seen plenty of reviews sharing some of that challenges that I personally had with the machine. And I'm glad to basically, you can send me a new machine. I'm glad to redo this test that hopefully it'll perform properly the first time, all right? But as you guys can see, you know, when this is working properly, if it was working properly, this juiced in about 2.5 minutes. It went through. I think it reversed approximately 2 or 3 times during the second time we went through it, and then also it reversed like maybe 2 times the first time, where, you know, it didn't fare so well. All right, so yeah, definitely. So maybe we're gonna be done in about 3 minutes juicing time that it completed juice. So that's actually 2 minutes faster than the Hurom. But the other thing is that this reversed a few times. Also, there's, in my opinion, a little bit more headaches using the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer. Definitely a name that does not fit with the juicer quality, in my personal opinion. All right, so I guess with that, we're gonna go ahead and stop everything, stop this machine, and we're gonna go ahead and now let's see, we're gonna tip this up. We're gonna go ahead and tip the Hurom up. Pretty much all the juice came out. On the Omega, it looks like, you know, we pretty much have the auger locked into place, so this is not going to pull up very easily. This is another issue that many people have with some vertical machines, maybe especially if they're not properly designed. Like this, you could easily take apart. This one, it looks like you're going to struggle. Maybe you have to take like the hopper off first. And actually, let's go ahead and compare what you're going to have to clean when you're done. So on the Hurom hopper, if you guys see, and as I mentioned before, this is a very efficient hopper, guys. There's not a lot left in there. I mean, it looks fairly clean, guys. Look at that. That's impressive. This is why I love the Hurom. This hopper, once again, like I said, the best designed. Meanwhile, on the Omega hopper, how much pulp and residue is left inside the hopper? You guys can see there's significant amounts of pulp and residue left in the hopper that never even got into the juicer, whereas the Hurom pretty much got everything in. I mean, that's the goal of the hopper juicer, is to get the hopper empty, right? And, you know, definitely on this, there's more residue. Next up, inside the Hurom, you can see we have the auger that's pretty much clean. You just spray this off with water. You guys can see not much in there to clean, and we don't really have to deal with any kind of pulp, because literally we just spray this down in the sink and it all comes off. Links down below to my original unboxing videos where I show the 1 minute it takes to clean the Hurom H70. Meanwhile, let's see what we're gonna have to clean on the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer here. First up, we need to actually remove the auger and the juicing bowl, which once again, this seems to be just stuck on there. So I'm not sure what we're going to do here. Oh, there we go. We were able to get the auger out, and you can see the auger is fairly clean. There's some bits of carrots, and underneath the auger, there's a lot of carrots there. Next up, we have the juicing screen. As you guys can see, like I said, guys, this is what you're going to have to clean when you're done. You didn't see none of this in the Hurom because there's no juicing screen. This is like caked on pulp, guys. It's ground in. You're going to have to scrub this out with the brush that comes with it. Spend several minutes to clean this. This is the big problem with screen-based juicers. The cleaning is the problem. Also, you guys can see all the way even in the top screen, it's clogged in, but the bottom of the screen is just caked on. Likewise, on the inside, on the bottom inside of the screen, it is caked on. It's really tight, packed in there. Once again, there's no screen in the Hurom, so you're not going to have this. And then, of course, in the juicing bowl on the Omega that finally comes out, you guys can see a lot of that pulp was pushed through the screen into where the juice comes out. So this may, if it did come out if in the juice, it'll make a pulpier juice, which looks like it did not. But this is a lot of the pulp that basically went through the screen that did not end up going in the juice, right? So this is actually a nice fine pulp. It'd be good to eat, and you guys can see you have all the pulp there to clean out as well. Whereas on the Hurom, once again, you know, we have that quick release to easily access the pulp underneath there, which there's not actually much to clean. All right, so let's get all this assembled back, cleaned up, and let's go ahead and do a comparison of the amount of pulp put in to the juice as well as the juice yields, and also do a taste test. All right, guys, next up, let's go ahead and bring up front and center the juices to see how much juice each juicer made, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and basically tap down the sieves to make sure we get every last bit of juice that may be in the sieve. Definitely the H70 put more pulp in the juice than the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer. All right, let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the juice yield. Let's go ahead and give you guys a close-up on the juices over the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer. Did it really perform? And is it ultimate? Well, it looks like we got 425 milliliters of juice over on that side. And over on the Hurom, we made more juice. Looks like we made about 500 milliliters of juice straight up with the Hurom H70 juicer. All right, so you guys saw we just made about 18% more juice with the Hurom H70 over the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer. Doesn't seem to be the ultimate or the best performance juicer that I've tested by any stretch. All right, next up, let's go ahead and check how much pulp was put in to the juice here. So we're gonna go ahead and tear this out. First up, on the Omega, I will say definitely put less pulp. Screen design juicers put less pulp. That being said, there's a lot of pulp that came out of the screen that actually didn't get in the juice that could have. That being said, this is what came out. And so testing that, looks like we have a total of 11.7 grams. That's quite impressive. All right, next up, let's go ahead and tear this back out. 11.7 versus in the Hurom, a lot more. And on the Hurom, we made 49.9, almost 50 grams of pulp, guys. This is like, I don't know, 4.5 times more pulp in the Hurom H70. That being said, although it did put more pulp in the juice, which you can remove, you just buy a simple sieve if you don't want it. That being said, some of the recent studies that I have been perusing and learning from state that there's a lot of nutrients in the pulp. So actually we should be drinking it. So that's why I do like the Hurom, and in most cases I don't normally strain out my juice anymore. I used to, but I've really become to like the texture. Of course, also, right, this is gonna save you a lot more time cleaning. So it's like, okay, more pulp in the juice, but less cleaning time, less scrubbing time. To me, that's a win, especially just buy an extra sieve to remove the pulp out. All right, next test I want to do, guys, is because we put the even amount of carrots in both machines, we got 18% more juice out of the Hurom H70, right? I want to take a look at the pulp because this is very telling. I mean, I could see this instantly just looking at it. Maybe you guys can too. Can you guys see the differences between these pulps? This pulp to me looks very coarse, guys. Like if you grind things up and you're like shredding carrots for salad, you got the larger shreds. That's the example. This gives you larger shreds, and if you're shredding up carrots, this will give you the smaller or finer shreds. Think about it. The more finely you can grate up your produce when juicing, the more cell walls are exposed, the more juice that comes out, but more importantly, especially for me, the more nutrients are released. You know, even when there's, you know, more yield, more nutrients are released because there's a better grind. That's why I'm a big fan of vacuum juicing as the #1 method to juice if you want the most yield and most nutrition. Link down below the video where I compare the best two juicers of 2025, which is the Hurom H70 and the vacuum blending juicing solution that I show. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and dump these pulps out to compare them side by side. So, you know, I don't know if you guys could see that now, but I could clearly see that, you know, the Omega like left these really big chunks despite having the same amount of like grinding kind of lines in it. This leaves a very more coarse texture, right? And the coarse texture, once again, is going to lead you with less yield, right? And a lesser quality juice. The finer texture was going to perform a lot better. And you know, when I went over to Hurom back in the day, I went to their R&D lab, and in their R&D lab, they were juicing lots of mostly carrots. So I know that Hurom has been juicing carrots in basically all their machines and perfecting the grind on carrots, because honestly, that is one of the hardest things that a juicer will need to grind on. And they know they want to extract the most nutrition and yield out for you guys, and that's what they do with their machines. Although these machines look similar on the inside and their workings and the tolerances and everything are a lot different, right? I haven't seen a Chinese juicer yet that grinds as fine as the Korean-made juicers actually made in the Hurom factory. So, you know, this is something that other influencers are not going to tell you guys. I share it with you guys all so you guys can make the best decision. If you guys haven't already subscribed to me, click that subscribe button because I always have videos coming out where you're going to learn new and different and interesting things about juicing, juicers, vacuum blenders, and other appliances that allow you to process your fruits and vegetables in the best ways possible. Make sure you click the bell to get notified as many videos come out because I know a lot of you guys watch this video but are not yet subscribed. So I want you guys to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my amazing content. All right. Next up, let's go ahead and do a taste test of both these juices. First up, we're going to go ahead. Actually, that's interesting. Just looking at the kind of foam created, you know, the foam actually, the head on top of the Omega is a bit more than on the Hurom, which is interesting. So we're going to pour out some of this carrot juice from the Omega to do a taste test. Tastes good. Solid. All right, let's check the Hurom juice. It tastes good. There's a difference in the flavor. I'm not here to tell you like which one tastes better. They taste a little bit, each a little bit different. I can't express into words what this is, but yeah, definitely interesting. But all practical purposes, these are going to make a very similar quality juice. They run at a similar RPM. I could maybe say the Hurom maybe grinds better, maybe extracts a bit more nutrients, or maybe tastes a little bit different than the Omega. So, you know, guys, this is pretty much what we got after this episode. Like, I'm just really astounded with the Omega Ultimate Performance Batch Juicer and how it really just didn't perform. It really left me hanging. Although it has the IntelliDial with all the colors and all these kinds of things, which are nice kind of gimmicks. I mean, in the end, in my opinion, this machine fails as a juicer. Number one, I personally had assembly problems, which many people also have had. In addition, it didn't have a torquey motor, so it actually reversed, and then maybe even caused the machine to come apart at some point because of the reversing. It's a very poor quality machine. I do not recommend you guys buy it. If you guys did buy it and are looking for reviews, I would say return it before it's too late, before you're stuck with it. And you know what I would tell you guys is get a dependable juicer, right? Back in the day, Omega used Hurom as their primary slow juicer manufacturer. Since then, Omega's gone to China and worked with manufacturing partners over there to make their juicers in China, and I've only seen the quality decrease, right? Maybe Omega's profits have increased because they're charging a similar price for their Chinese made machines versus their Korean-made machines, and I'm sure Korean-made machines cost a lot more than the ones made in China. So that's their business decision. I respect that, hey, it's all about profit in the United States, but to me, as a juicer expert, I'm about what's going to work, what's going to be durable, what's going to give you guys the easiest time juicing so that you actually be juicing more. And that's why in this episode, I'm going to declare the winner of this episode, the Hurom H70. Not only did it juice straight through without stopping, without giving me any problems, I'm now looking forward to cleaning because it's 1 minute to clean. I just spray down the parts. With this, I'm going to have to scrub this down, all this stuff. I'm going to have to repack this to get it shipped back to the company because it is a defective juicer. Something that's never happened to me in a juice-off comparison before. I've had blender comparisons that I did have a defective blender happen, but never a defective juicer, which is absolutely insane. So if you guys want to get, in my opinion, the ultimate juicer for juicing in your home, that's a vertical hopper, that's the easiest to clean, you guys want to buy the Hurom H70. And right now only, for a limited time, there's a $90 off discount promotion you guys can get on the Hurom H70 by using the coupon code ULTIMATE, because the Omega is not the ultimate in my opinion. The ultimate juicer for me clearly is the Hurom H70. It's the latest and greatest juicer made by Hurom, the original company that actually helped Omega establish its brand in the United States with all their amazing slow juicers they have sold in the past. And when you guys use that coupon code, not only will you save the most money at present time, it's $90. That's going to expire really soon, so I don't want you guys to miss out. So buy now before that promotion expires. When that $90 off promotion does expire, that coupon code will be good for a minimum of 10% off your Hurom H70. Still getting you guys the lowest price on the Hurom, because once again, my company name is discountjuicers.com. My goal is to make sure you guys get the lowest prices. And when you guys use that coupon code to get the lowest price, Hurom will also share with me a small commission so I can continue to make these educational videos for you guys to show you guys what really happens when you put even amounts of produce in the machines, as well as my expert commentary on build qualities as well as how the machines work. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode today about the Omega Ultimate Performance Juicer compared to the Hurom H70, my trusty standby. If you guys did, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. That helps out the YouTube algorithm. And more importantly, share this with other people that are looking for the ultimate hopper style juicer in 2025. And at present time, to me, it's a Hurom H70. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you know on new and upcoming episodes I've command every 5 to 7 days. You don't know where I show up, what new juicers I'll be unboxing or comparing against other, what new juicing knowledge I'll be dropping on you, or what new vacuum blending tips or other appliances I'll be sharing with you guys so you guys can process fruits and vegetables and other plant foods in the best ways possible. And make sure you click the little bell to get notified as we do this command. Finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on the channel dedicated to you guys all about the different juicers and comparing and contrasting them so you guys don't waste your money on a lemon. Links down below to some of my favorite videos I made in the past if you guys want to learn more about my favorite juicer, the Hurom H70. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for YouTube visitors.